So they're telling us that Steam's new Steam machine is just too weak. It's too anemic for serious PC gamers. So let's set the stage. So recently Valve unveiled their new next-gen Steam machine launching in early 2026. It's compact, it's living room-friendly gaming cube designed to bring Steam, SteamOS, and Steam games to your big screen and a couch without all the chaos of like a full-blown gaming PC and a big-ass rig, right? It's really a plug-and-play experience. But as the announcement hit, then many hardcore PC gamers started sounding the alarm. In forums, you could read their posts on Twitter. It's not powerful enough. They're saying it's a compromise. Why bother if you're a true PC gamer? Why would you buy this thing? Some people even called it e-waste, or to be fair, they called the 8 gigabytes of VRAM e-waste. But those people, I think, are truly idiots, because e-waste, really? In fact, the evidence suggests Valve may have really nailed a sweet spot here, but that requires flipping the script on what PC gaming is and who this machine is actually for. And oh, by the way, Valve has tons of internal data that's driving all of this. It's a huge change from 10 years ago when they rolled out the Steam machine and it was a total disaster. Now they've got the data. It's like they went back to the drawing board and they learned their lesson. And of course, all of this is with one big caveat. We don't know the Steam pricing yet. We can set that aside for another video. Although yesterday I did or 2 days ago, I did a whole separate video on Steam machine pricing, and we just had a fun conversation about it. So go check out that video if you want to after this one. So anyway, let's talk about the noise from PC gamers right now. PC enthusiasts often live and die by specs, of course, right? The fastest GPU, the highest refresh rate, custom water cooling loops, RGB everywhere, right? RGB lights everywhere. And why play something on a console when I can build a 5090 rig or a 4090 rig, right? So when Valve says their machine is only about as powerful as a base model PS5, the reaction is pretty understandable. That's underwhelming. Wait a minute, the PS5 is like, what, 4 or 5 years old now at this point? Like, what? We expected more. And it's not even coming out until 2026, so it'll be 6 years since the PS5 came out. But that expectation presumes, of course, that the Steam machine is targeting us, like hardcore PC tinkerers, with big tower rigs. But what if it isn't? But here's the kicker. According to Valve, the Steam machine is designed to be equal to or better than 90% of all PCs currently on Steam. Now listen to this interview that IGN did with Valve.
And the Steam machine is equal or better than 70% of what people have at home.
So in other words, they surveyed through that Steam hardware survey data. They saw the average setup, and then they built this box to exceed the performance of the vast majority of existing Steam users. 70% of them would be getting an upgrade. How many was it? 51 million Steam users now? That's a huge sales potential base right there. It's not for the 1% of PC rigs with dual GPUs and 32 gigabytes of VRAM and custom loops and all that stuff. It's for the mainstream. It's for the person whose PC is 4 years old, maybe even older, maybe piled together, crumpled together, maybe underused as like a gaming PC, but it's also a bit of a workhorse. So yes, this machine may look weak, like in the abstract, if you compare it to a bleeding edge custom rig, but it may be stronger than 70% of what people actually own who use Steam. And given that they're targeting 4K and 60 Hertz, remember, most people are still using 1080p screens in their hardware survey. So this is a big upgrade from just that perspective alone. So who exactly is this for? As I pointed out in my older video a few months ago, actually, when these leaks started coming out, I was like, who is this for exactly? Like, why would anyone buy this? And I think I figured it out, quite honestly. I am not the desk-bound PC rig gamer. I work all day at my desk, or most of the day. The last thing I want to do is sit at that thing in the evening and then fire up video games. Like, I want the couch. I want the comfy chair. I want the plug-and-play minimal fuss. I want to grab my Steam Deck and go sit upstairs by the fireplace and watch some football on a Thursday night. This Steam machine, in fact, matches that philosophy. It's not built for the tinkerer. It's built for someone like me who says, I want Steam games on my TV without building a tower, dealing with drivers, managing thermals. And that matters. Let's talk about those other low-performant machines, if you will. Look at what Nintendo Switch 2 is doing right now. This device, which doesn't pretend to be a bleeding-edge PC, but rather a streamlined, living room-friendly gaming machine is selling like crazy. Recent numbers, 5.54 million units in the latest quarter. Total over 10 million, 10.36 million units by September 30th. I'm sure it's already over 12 million by now. Probably higher than that as we're getting close to Christmas. But let's be clear, what about its performance relative to, say, a base model PS4 Pro or current gen console? It doesn't matter, right? According to benchmarks from Digital Foundry, the Switch 2 falls somewhere between that PS4 and PS4 Pro in terms of performance. As they said, on all of our tests, Switch 2 delivers higher pixel counts than PS4 base, but compared to PS4 Pro, it's either on par or a little bit slower. And some games are just running beautifully on the Switch 2. Chronos: The New Dawn, Star Wars Outlaws, Cyberpunk 2077. Again, translation, this isn't a PC class beast here. It doesn't need to be. It just works. It flows. By the way, people got angry with me when I admitted that I had never played Cyberpunk before. And I said, I want to support CD Projekt Red. So I bought it on the Switch 2 because it's fully on the cartridge. And I wanted to support that. And I played it and beat it. I nearly 100%ed that game playing it on the Switch 2. It was beautiful to be able to play in handheld, then pop it in the dock and play it on the big screen, then take it on my flight to Scotland. It was great. I love that back and forth availability. And now thinking about it in terms of the Steam Deck, right? Sitting up on the couch by the fireplace, watching some football, hanging out with the family a little bit, just playing some games, just kind of chit-chatting. Then my cloud saves, boom, on Steam, can come down into my gaming room, jump on a Steam machine, play it on the big screen, and I pick up right where I left off. That's the stuff of dreams right there. It really is. So the Switch 2, to be fair, it works. It flows, it hits the target hardware, and it's selling like gangbusters right now. The market is telling us, hey, that this plug-and-play, fewer trade-offs console-style philosophy sells in huge numbers. I'm always reminded of when Apple started rolling out some new advanced features on the iPad. I know I bring up Apple a lot because I've covered them for years, but when they rolled out the iPad, the idea was, I'm just going to be able to have this device like a sheet of glass where I can read newspapers, I can read some emails, read the news, use Twitter, and that's it. But then a lot of people are like, hey, I want to start using the iPad as a more advanced, laptop, like a MacBook Air. And so Apple started kind of cramming in all of these advanced features. And I spoke to somebody at Apple who told me that once you get past the main experience, you launch the iPad and you're just reading the news and you're playing Words with Friends and you're playing the apps that you've downloaded, like older people, almost it's like a fraction, fewer than 10% of people. It might even been lower than that. I forget the exact number that he told me, but it was almost no one was using all of these advanced windowing features that they started adding into iPad OS. No one was using it. So they put all this stuff in there to make it seem like you're a pro user and all, but no one's using it. All people wanted was the iPad to just read the news, read their emails, email with a few friends, play Word with Friends, maybe play a few games. And that's how people watch some movies. That's how people were using this device. Most people. And so again, I think the vocal minority ends up being the loudest, like the PC gaming crowd that's this thing is too weak. It reminds me of those people that are the iPad, that's not really, that can't be a laptop. That come on. It's the vocal minority. So, there's a common assumption. If you're doing PC gaming, you must chase the highest specs. But that, of course, leads to higher costs, greater power draw, bigger footprint, which also means a gaming desk, chair setup, more heat, more noise, more maintenance, more time spent fiddling instead of playing. Right now on this device that we use in our studio, we have a 5090 Legendary series, in our tower PC. It's all the way across the room and I can hear it from here. That's how loud it is. I don't want that in my living room. So Valve's approach here is, hey, we're going to take a box, we're going to make it 70% as a heat sink with a huge fan, the whole thing. So you're hopefully not going to hear anything on this thing. It's going to be quiet as a mouse. And they're also asking, hey, okay, what do most people own? What performance is good enough to deliver modern quality games at a good quality on their television screen? How do we make it plug into a living room next to the television so I can just press a game controller and it powers on my TV with CEC? No huge tower, no driver headaches, no crazy tinkering, all of that stuff. And Steam's library is right there, and I can start playing it. So in doing so, they accept that this machine isn't built for overclockers, but it's built for everyday gamers.
We can essentially look at everybody's devices. We understand what the median performance looks like for people. We understand where the Steam machine is going to be positioned relative to those. Essentially, we think it's going to be a good upgrade path for a lot of people, especially people who are on older machines. A really easy, simple way to kind of get more performance and get back into PC gaming.
So when I say no, it's not just too weak. Here's how I'd argue it. I'd say, hey, it might be weaker than a $2,000 custom PC tower, but it doesn't need to be. It's stronger than 70% of Steam's user rigs right now. That means for the majority of players, this is literally an upgrade. Might even be a huge upgrade for some people. It does what a living room console should do, which is plug into the TV. It offers Steam's library, has very little fuss at all, just plug and play. And it addresses a different segment, which is not the PC gamer, but the guy who just wants like Steam on my television more than I'll build a tower and tweak settings every week, which is super annoying. I wouldn't want to do that. And it aligns philosophically with what other successful consoles like the Switch 2 are doing, fewer trade-offs, less setup, less hassle, more immediate fun here. Because I am that person. I sit at my desk most of the day at work, I edit, I research. I don't want to also game at that desk in the evening. I want comfort, simplicity. So if I can have my Steam library accessible on my couch without building a rig or fiddling with drivers or managing cooling or worrying about desk space, that matters. And also for me, like almost every Steam game that I buy, most of them are games that I can't get physically. So that's why I'm buying them on Steam. Like I don't want to be locked into PlayStation's ecosystem. I don't want to be locked into buying digital games on the Nintendo Switch eShop. We've seen what they've done with their virtual console and all of those things. So if I buy like indie games that don't have a physical, I usually buy it on Steam. And usually these are smaller, less demanding games, fun platformers, things like that, Metroidvanias, things like that. So I don't need to have like a massive PC rig to run that kind of stuff. I think many people in my position are being underrepresented in the PC versus console dialogue right now. Just because someone uses Steam doesn't mean they actually want to build a tower. So I'm not skeptical of the Steam machine because I think it's underpowered. I'm actually skeptical only if we judge it unfairly using the wrong benchmarks, i.e. like a custom PC tower. Instead, we should be asking like a question, does it deliver a very good living room PC gaming experience for its intended audience? And I believe it does. And from the early tests from journalists who got their hands on it, it really does. But of course, there are some big caveats here, and the devil's in the details, the pricing, right? So that's going to matter hugely. If Valve aims to outperform 70% of Steam PCs, but it charges $1,500, then the value proposition quickly falls apart. Some coverage expects it somewhere between the $500 and $600 range. I did a video this week about the price, and I said, look, I'm going to take a line in the sand and say, what if they came out at $399 as a loss leader? Like if Moore's Law is dead correct assumptions that it costs $425 to make this thing, if they could undercut it, sell it for $399 like Amazon Kindles do, and they lose money on it, but they actually make money on all the software, maybe $449, who knows? So maybe they're making a little bit of money. I don't know. But I think a lower price would be just a game changer. Then the other question is game support, driver stability, SteamOS ecosystem, all of that matter. If there's any friction, people are going to revert back to, hey, I'm just going to stick with my tower, or I'm just going to revert back to, I'm just going to stick with my Switch 2, or I'm going to stick with my PlayStation because it's just easier. I find, there's problems inside of SteamOS. We'll see. And then the upgradability question, right? These are big questions. How future-proof is this box? Again, I know I can upgrade a bunch of things in this device, but custom PC users are going to scoff at it if it doesn't have some upgradability. But for the intended audience, maybe minimal upgrades are needed. And if there are some things that could prolong the life of this, great. How many current PC gamers actually use their tower for living room couch play? I would love to know that. Because one anecdote that Valve brought up in that interview with IGN, which I found fascinating, I'll play the soundbite for you here. Is it 10%? I think it was a little over 10% of Steam Deck owners never take it out of the dock. Like they use it on their television all the time. Like they don't even take it portably. Listen.
It's between 10 and 15% of Steam Decks at a given time are connected to an external display. So that's about what we're looking at in terms of docked use.
I mean, that's crazy to me. You have more than 10% of Steam Deck owners never use it portably, and they just have it connected to a TV. I've tried that. I don't like it. I have a dock. I don't like it. I don't like the clunkiness of it. I don't like having to change controller, like all that stuff. I'm just not a fan of it. It's just, plus, if we learn that the Steam machine is 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, for those people, that's a game changer, right? You're upgrading in that capacity, and now you want to just plug this in instead of your Steam Deck on a dock. It's crazy. So, I think that this suggests that even enthusiasts prefer that living room setup more than they admit. Those like PC gaming enthusiasts who love their Steam Deck, they're like, actually, I want to play it on my big TV. Because why wouldn't you, So let's revisit the title question that I said, right? Is the Steam machine just too weak? Well, if you're a hardcore PC builder chasing like maximum frames a second, tinkering with settings, custom hardware, custom cooling, all of that stuff, then yes, this probably is not your machine. But if you're like me and you just want your Steam library in the living room, you prefer comfort over complexity, you want good performance, not absolutely bleeding edge, then no, it's not too weak at all. It might well represent the smartest compromise for a large segment of gamers, to be sure. In fact, I'd argue it's one of the most interesting gaming hardware developments in years. Not because it tries to beat consoles or turn it into a PC tower replacement, but because it redefines what PC gaming in your living room could mean. And that's kind of exciting. I mean, this is like kind of a revolution in PC gaming, especially when that Steam controller and those trackpads, for like point and click games, like that's what I'm curious about, right? Like I loved playing Stronghold back in the day, one of my favorite games of all time. And, to be able to sit back, there's a lot of point and clicking, right? I'm building towers, I'm moving my armies around. Like, can I do that easily and effortlessly with just sitting here playing a PC game with these trackpads on the Steam controller? So I'm excited to really see what that feels like rather than just me playing platformers or Metroidvanias and things like that. So what do you guys think about all of this? Is the Steam machine just too weak? Is it too anemic? Or do you think it just hits that right target? And by the way, how many of you will be picking one of these up? I would love to know down below. By the way, I've reached out to Valve because I want to know how many people have wish listed this. Wouldn't that be interesting, right? These are people that actually plan to maybe pre-order this thing. I want to know those numbers. Be very, very interesting. Certainly tell us an interesting tale. So thanks so much for subscribing, guys, and we'll see you next time.